Welcome, friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Okay, have you ever said, I hate my life, in that cartoon bubble over your head? If you have, why? Why such a strong statement? Well, that's what Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is all about, a conversation that we're going to have about things that maybe we all encounter, even on a daily basis. A safe place to just talk and converse in a Catholic Christian way. I'm Debbie Georgiani, and I'm so pleased to have Jerry Usher back today. He's at Redeemer Radio in Indiana, working a pledge drive. And Jerry, I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for holding down the fort. Thanks, everybody, for keeping Debbie company yesterday. As I was in an airplane, I was actually in O'Hare Airport during a part of the time of the program, but just didn't have a chance. I've done the show from airports before, but didn't have a chance to connect yesterday. So it's good to be back.
Well, we're happy to have you. We definitely missed you yesterday, Jerry. You could have added to the conversation. We had a vibrant, very, it was a dynamic conversation. And I think we all learned and we grew. We got to know one another. And we learned some just really fun facts about marriage. But today we're talking about, we titled the show, I Hate My Life. And I know social media you've kind of sparked that a bit, dear listeners, about the word hate. And we chose such a strong word because, believe it or not, strong statements like that do creep into our daily lives. Now, not everybody, but if you're one of the ones that you just really feel in a place in your life where sometimes that statement kind of rises up, we just want to explore why. It'll help us all to grow. We're not asking for any deep theological conversations or even some really intense counseling situations. We're looking for a conversation, a new angle on things. And if we don't have a safe place like this to talk, where do we get to talk? I know you can't do it probably in your workplace, sometimes even in your own homes. A lot of people don't feel safe enough just to let their guard down. We're asking you can do that here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
All right, phone number is 1-800-585-9396, 800-585-9396. I had to pause. I don't know if anybody caught the little tiny pause there because as I do one pledge drive after another, week after week, I get these phone numbers stuck in my head. The pledge line phone number. So I had to remember, what's our show phone number? 800-585-9396. Debbie, as you're talking, I think back on my life. Have there been times when I felt like, maybe I didn't say to myself, I hate my life, but there are always those times when things seem to just pile up, I've been in jobs I didn't like. I've been in jobs I hated, actually. And I just found myself, through whatever circumstances in those employment situations. And, thanks be to God that, those are behind me now. But there are job situations. There are family things that go on. There are circumstances in life, things we just don't want to have to face doing, Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're talking about today is really with our listeners. If you're in that place right now, again, we can kind of have a brief conversation about it. Or maybe you've come to a place where you're in a place of better peace and joy right now after having worked through some of that other stuff. So, Debbie, those are just some thoughts that I have.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And here's the thing. With Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, it's just a place to really, maybe you just need a little kind of spark or a little new angle on things to just help you inch along. Or maybe you just need to know you're not alone. That can give you that little sense of confidence or a little security to know that you're completely not alone. I think that's what Take Two is all about. And I can tell you this, Jerry, that from the comments we have received from listeners and from the emails, it's definitely having an impact in a positive way. And when things have an impact in a positive way, we've got to know that is, granted or blessed by God, because God wants us to grow and increase in our journey towards Him. And I really believe in my heart of hearts that Take Two accomplishes that. So I hope that, dear listeners, you weigh in on this and share your take on it, because we want to explore this topic. If you've ever said, my life stinks or I hate my life, however you want to phrase it. But if you've ever had that kind of negative comment about your life, call in at 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, or maybe it was just one particular circumstance. You go to bed at night thinking, oh, tomorrow I've got to do this or do that or face this person or this situation. How did you manage to maybe stay in the present moment, Debbie? I know this is an important part of what you wanted to convey to people today, is no matter what's going on in our lives, if we can sort of cut through all of that and just realize that, in the present moment is where God is, and wherever we are, whatever we're going through is, in a sense, God's will for us at that moment. Not that we shouldn't try to change things that we don't like or that aren't healthy and so forth, but how do we just stay grounded in the knowledge that, God is right there with us no matter what we're going through, however bad it may be.
Here come the calls, Jerry. This is exciting. 1-800-585-9396. I think our listeners have a lot of takes on this topic. Jerry, you said something so important this morning. You said when things start to pile up, that's maybe when you have that negative feeling about how your life is going. I feel the exact same way. That is when in my life I felt really down about my current circumstances, was when things were piling up, when I was tired, when I was frustrated, when things were kind of just caving in. And that is the perfect time to shift things towards God. It's the perfect time, because when that shift happens, things change immediately. And I think that's why this conversation is so important, to bring God into the mix, especially when you feel overwhelmed. So I'm liking this discussion already, because I've already learned something just about what you said, Jerry. So I hope our listeners feel the same way at 1-800-585-9396.
Well, we're coming up on a break here in just a moment, and I just want to read a couple of posts on Facebook, which, by the way, you can follow our show and all of EWTN radio shows. It's EWTN Catholic Radio. Ivan said, past decisions may put me in a bad situation, but I live by a simple motto. Your choice, your consequence, no regrets. Debbie, I know you like that. And Ivan adds, I wouldn't change anything because I know God has a reason why he put me here. We heard from Antonina, who says about people who hate their lives. Poor thing, don't get disgusted with life. We all have bad and good days. So, Debbie, we got several more that are on social media that we're going to try to get to during the course of the program. But like you said, callers are starting to come in. So why don't we take our first break here, and then we can get to some of those calls.
Sounds like a plan. There's one open phone line. I know it's just for you. So if you feel prompted by the Spirit, you want to weigh in on this, call in at 1-800-585-9396. We are going to take that short break. When we come back, we're going to jump right in. If you've ever said in your mind, I hate my life, let's discuss it. Stay with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We'll be right back.
Something amazing is happening on EWTN. One wildly dynamic speaker and a team of young missionaries are on a cross-country road trip, spreading their message of hope in Christ. Their passion is awakening youth to the power of God's love. It's energetic, honest, affirming, like nothing you've seen on TV before. You're Amazing with Justin Fatika, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel.
Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
Hello, this is Bill Donahue from the Catholic League, and you're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. Our thanks to you for tuning into the program today. and every opportunity that you get a chance to listen. We are grateful for your listenership and your prayers. On our phone number today is 1-800-585-9396, 800-585-9396. If you've ever just been, maybe you've just gotten to a point in your life where you just had it, and you think, you know what, I just got to get out of this situation. Things just are really not going well. We're talking about that today here on the program, and we've got several of your calls. So we are going to go first to, looks like Mary in Florida. Mary, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You are on the air. How are you? Hello,
Hi,
Mary.
Mary.
Are you there?
Mary. No, Mary.
Okay.
Oh, it almost sounds like she's there. Okay. Mary from Florida, we'll see if we can get you back. And so we're going to move right along with Al. Al's calling in, I believe from Massachusetts. Hi, Al. How are you?
Hi.
Is it Massachusetts, Al?
Yes.
Cool. Very cool. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
I'm calling because of two questions. One, coping with the difficulties of aging, making life less and less enjoyable. And two, I heard your broadcast yesterday, and you mentioned that your own marriage broke up, and you went through divorce and annulment. And I wanted to ask, what caused your first marriage to break up?
Well, actually, Al, yes. My first marriage, 20 years, 2 children, and I guess the easiest way and the simplest way and the most generic way without kind of, losing any of my family members' privacy, I would say that my ex-husband chose out. He chose out of the marriage. So that would be the best way to describe it. And it really was, I didn't really have a choice to keep the marriage together. I tried. But when one, chooses out, it's, and this is what I discussed yesterday, it's very difficult to bring Christ into the center of a marriage when one of the parties is completely closed off. And unfortunately, it was out of my control. There was a lot of priests involved and tried to help, a lot of a great support system, but it was out of my control. And so I needed to move on with life. I hope did that kind of answer your question?
I hope so.
So did you have something about today?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, the problems of life becoming less and less enjoyable. I wouldn't say hating life, but as one loses all one's abilities, with aging, life becomes narrower, more circumscribed, less areas of competency, and it is very painful.
Mm-hmm. So am I sensing, Al, that you're feeling alone and it's kind of, do you feel like you have a support system around you?
Well, to some degree, but it's my own disabilities. Mm-hmm. Not being able to walk readily, not being able to drive easily, not being able to carry out daily activities that make life enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Al, if I can just jump in here for a second, Debbie's probably thinking the same thing. We're all aging, obviously, and one of the most difficult things, I think, for a lot of us, I've experienced this in my own life, Al. I don't know how old you are. I'm in my mid-50s now, and it's been extremely difficult. I haven't had anything, major where I've been incapacitated or anything, but just the little stages that we pass through in life can be difficulties. They can be challenges. They can be very, very hard to overcome because we're used to our freedoms, our abilities, and so forth. And I know for me, just things like, playing basketball. I haven't played basketball for 7 or 8 years. I used to play every day, sometimes twice a day. Little things like that. And so I think it's a matter of resignation. And I don't say that flippantly, but we have to really trust God that God is in those situations as well. And, the same God who gave us the abilities and the mobility and all of our gifts and talents that we were once able to use maybe very freely and extensively, those are going to diminish over time, and we just have to hopefully come to a place of trust and surrender and resign. And Debbie, I think giving those things, I've tried to give some of those things to God and say, Lord, I so wish I could still do A, B, C, or X, Y, Z, but I can't. So I offer that to you as a sacrifice, and I think that's one way that maybe we can turn it around and make a positive out of it.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that, Jerry. One other thing I would love to add, Al, and I know I've said this quite, just so many times. You guys are probably sick of me saying it, but I really believe it in my heart of hearts that prayer is the only way we are going to shift things in this world and shift the generations to come for to have a better future with a God-driven future. And we need committed prayer warriors. There's nothing more important in this world than people who are committed to prayer. That's why we have monasteries. That's why we have, the cloistered nuns. Al, my suggestion, if I ever was, getting old, I am getting older. I'm turning 50 this year. But when I get older and I start to lose some of my abilities to be able to go out and do service out in the world, I am going to turn into just a mega prayer warrior. I'm going to pray all day long, have notebooks of prayer that I can pray for, intentions and everything, because I think that is the most important job we can do as Christians, bar none. There's nothing else more important than prayer right now, because that's the only way we're going to stay connected with God and bring him into the center of our world. I don't know if that even has been brought up in your life, Al, or you're even entertaining that or even thinking that. Maybe you're doing it already, but I'd be curious to see what you have to say.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
So far, prayer hasn't helped at all. One feels greatly diminished in life, and other people look on one as incompetent. And it is very sad. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say one hates life, but one certainly is not enjoying life. And while I appreciate you're saying you can't play basketball, but when you can't get up the stairs, or you can't walk around the house, or you can't hear people in a group, or can't hear what's going on, or see. Reading becomes extremely difficult. It's like being walled off.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Al, I just want to say, I wasn't, again, I tried to say what I said in a, hopefully a sensitive way, that I was just kind of making an analogy, and then I did say that, as we get even older, say, than I am. And, I've actually seen people who were very, very able-bodied and capable, and as they got a little bit older, say into their 70s or 80s, sometimes, when these faculties start to fail them, and like you said, their ability just to get around and do the simple things in life, they were deceased not long after that, and I don't know, if that's it just kind of saps the will to live out of you or what. But I want to encourage you in the opposite direction, Al. It sounds like, as Debbie, I think, is indicating, if you had this, everybody can have a sense of purpose, Al, and I don't say that as though it's, easy for you. I can hear the difficulty that you're having with this, and Debbie, I know you can too, and I don't know, Al, if you've sat down with a priest, and talked about this and just said, hey, Father, how can I be of service to the church at this point in my life with these different things going on? I don't know. Have you thought about that, Al?
Oh, yes. I think that pretty much, certainly, my children feel I'm irrelevant, and I certainly haven't had any encouragement or help from a priest.
Well, I'll tell you what, Al. Go ahead, Deb.
No, I was just
Well-
going to say, Al, you speak so eloquently. You talk beautifully, and your talking can be turned into prayer, not for yourself, but for others. And there's merit in that. There is purpose in that. And so you are of value, a tremendous value to us, the body of Christ, by your talking. Your talking allows you to talk to God. So I'm going to ask you right now, Al, if you would hold me up in your prayers. I sure could use some prayers, and I would count on you to pray for me. And that's a purpose. That's a reason to be in this world and to try and change this world. And that's all I was trying to say, Al, that you have a purpose.
Most of my efforts are what effort I can make are toward the welfare of the unborn and the children. I try to support a organization in Haverhill, Massachusetts that helps young persons, mostly women, who have to decide whether to bring their child into life or to abort their child. They provide both material and spiritual help, and I try to help them carry that out. But only really financially. There's not much else I can do. And a little prayer.
Okay, good.
They're quite successful.
Yeah.
It's-
Well,
they
Al-
every year they publish a little Christmas tree made up of the names of all the children that have been born through the combined efforts of the mother and possibly the father and this agency.
right. Al, you sound like a great soul, and you sound like a great person. So I'm going to ask you on behalf of Jerry and I, will you pray for us? Will you pray for this show? Will you be committed to help? Your prayers sound like they're going straight up to heaven. So we're going to ask you, would you do that for us?
Why not?
Okay, deal. Thank you. And we will pray for you as
Yeah.
well.
I was going to say we promise the same in return, Al. Thank you. And on that note, Al, we've got a break that we have to take here in just a minute or so. So we'll let you go on that note. And as you're talking there, Al, you mentioned you can help with the the pro-life work financially, and you said and a little bit of prayer. Well, be assured, Al, that those prayers and the money, they are all going to one of the most it is the most important cause there is on the face of the earth. And there's no question in my mind that, when you go to your reward and those unborn babies that you've helped save, meet you in heaven, you're going to be one of you're a hero, Al. You sound like a real hero of ours. And I think this is exactly the type of conversation, Debbie, that we wanted to have today with this topic. Like sometimes when, life just seems to be, going all against you, one big downer, Al has got a way to, like you said, Debbie, come up with a sense of purpose out of all this.
Absolutely. There's always, when you look at self-help sections of the bookstores, Jerry, the self-help, it's really kind of interesting. When you read some of these self-help books, the answer is so small. It just takes a tiny little change to make a big difference. And that's kind of, I think, that little secret of life. We look for this big, grandiose answer, and it's really just a tiny little shift, a tiny little mindset change, a tiny little awareness change, just something to get you to move and turn your face towards God. And that's what I think Take Two does so well, is just making that other angle.
Yeah, and I want to thank Monica, who just sent me a Facebook message suggesting that Al, and this is something good for everyone, read the diary of St. Faustina. And, of course, Divine Mercy is such a key part in all of this. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Coming right back to take more of your calls. Don't go away.
EWTN is now on Twitter. Get short, timely messages from EWTN on your computer or cell phone. It's easy to stay up to date on a wide variety of topics. Pro-life news, Vatican announcements, catechesis, apologetics, the latest EWTN programming, and more. You can link to EWTN on Twitter from our homepage or go to twitter.com/EWTN. At work, at home, at school, and on the road. Stay connected to your world with EWTN's Twitter page.
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
We all have to exercise our role as priests, prophets, and kings. Prophets, we speak for life. As priests, we celebrate life. And as kings, we serve life. This is for everybody, because all of us share in Jesus' prophetic, priestly, and kingly service and ministry. Politicians have to make sure that they do not ever renounce their responsibility. You can't renounce responsibility, because you have to answer to God as well as to your own conscience and to the whole society for the choices that may be contrary to the common good. A law which violates an innocent person's natural right to life is unjust, and as such is not valid as law. It's not valid law in the eyes of God or the church.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
This is Patrick Coffin. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
So glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I hate my life. That's what we have titled the program today. Hate might be a strong word. I know that we should never hate ourselves, our lives, anything. We should thank God for everything. But every now and then, or maybe even it may seem frequently to you, that you just get up in the morning and you say, you know, I really wish this were different or that, or I just, you know, can hardly stand to look forward to another day in these circumstances that I'm in. We'd love to just, help talk with you about that. Not a whole lot we can do to maybe change your circumstances, maybe just provide a different perspective. That's what this show is about, taking Debbie a fresh look at life and really all that it throws at us.
I think it's good that we have this conversation, Jerry, because it allows us to really explore how we're taking a self-inventory of ourselves and how we feel. I know in my life, some of the times that I've really felt down is when I was looking at somebody else's life. And I thought, wow, they're advancing. They're going, they look like they have it all together. They're moving so much better and more stable than I am. And that got me down. And it wasn't until I was in complete acceptance of myself and my current circumstances, my current state, and where I was with my relationship with God, that I started to really fall in love with myself. And I say that in a really pure way, not an egotistical way. I really started to understand that I am created in the image and likeness of God. God knows every hair on my head. He knows all my faults. He knows all my weaknesses, but he also knows my heart. And I really took great comfort in that. And that's what, for me, I could never really ever say ever again, I don't like my life. Now I love my life because I know that hopefully the eternal rewards are waiting, and that's where I put my eyes towards. I fix my eyes towards that instead of getting caught up in what could go wrong in this world. So I think conversations like this are very helpful. They're not a quick fix. They're not a way to, a counseling session, but there are ways to just open up that conversation so you can kind of explore different views. And I know we're going to move right along to Jim in Colorado, listening on Denver Catholic Radio. Hi, Jim. You've been waiting so patiently. Thanks for joining Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I have a quick message for Al And I was on hold, and then I heard his call, and I thought, okay, this is meant to be. So this is for Al, because I worked for Amesbury Public School System, where Al knows exactly where that is in Massachusetts. I worked with disabled kids. Moved to Colorado. I got injured in a botched surgery. My life now is restricted to my bed and my recliner, and I'm being able to be driven to church. I can't drive. I'm in constant pain. I was very angry the first year or two after the surgery, and wondering, why is this happening to me? Very depressed, angry, hard for anybody to be around. Nobody would want to be around me. So what I did was I had to make a change. I had to change. I started reading the Bible, and for Al, you can get a download on a Nook, and you can buy a used Nook for $25, free download of the Bible. You can increase the font to any font size. But anyway, I started reading, and I never could read the Bible before. The difference this time is I told myself I am going to believe everything that I read, starting from Genesis, and just keep going. And what happened was I wasn't going to church. I had no desire to go to the Catholic Church. Wasn't going to church at all, but I knew I had to read the Bible. But once I started doing it, God started bringing me gifts that was relevant to my life, that made me happy. All of a sudden, started making me joyful. But by reading the Bible, it got me wanting to go to church, specifically Catholic church. And my wife started taking me, and we've been going ever since. And God, I can't even tell you all the wonderful gifts God's brought me. So much joy just from reading the Bible and believing. And that turned into prayer, and that turned into praying the Divine Mercy. And it started snowballing in such a great direction. So, Al, I'm just passing you on to this, my friend. It worked for me. So God bless you.
Yeah, Jim, don't go away, because I want some follow-up thoughts. And Debbie, forgive me for just jumping right in, but I just had to share what's on my heart, Jim, and that is I am convicted by what you're saying, because, if I get slowed down in traffic, I get impatient and upset, and it's such this major inconvenience for me. And, if I have to wait in line a little too long at airport security or the grocery store or something. And, so, Jim, I'm just really convicted by the fact that you have taken what obviously was no small challenge for you, and you have through patience and God's grace, you have turned that into something so absolutely beautiful. And the paradox in all of this is what you talked about, Jim, and that is peace and joy can come into a situation like that, even when we think there's just no possible way. And because it's God who acts and works in and through us, and it's His presence, it's union with Him that we should be seeking. And Jim was given this I guess this gift, if you can look at it that way. It sounds like, Jim, you are. And so, Debbie, I don't know. I want to let you share.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jim, you truly were blessed by God. You turned your anger into joy. The depression into great gifts that were given to you. Sounds like you and your wife have a beautiful spiritual routine, that going to church and all from reading the Bible and opening that up. In my opinion, what I heard from your story is that you took one step towards God, and God took 100 steps towards you. And that's what I think we all can learn from. The tiniest little step towards God, He will bless us. And that's I remember that, what was that movie, Jerry? City Slickers with Billy Crystal. Remember that movie? And they kept pointing to the cowboy hat, saying there's one thing in life, the one major miracle in life. They kept pointing, and it turns out it was in the guy's hat, but they kept pointing to that one thing. I personally think the one thing that we can learn in life is that every time we inch closer to God, He throws His arms around us, and all the saints and all the angels and His mother come around us and support us and give us those sustaining gifts, that grace, that presence to move us forward. I believe that's the one little thing. You make one little step towards God, and all this opens up. And Jim, you were the perfect example of that. And I just thank you so much for that call. And I know Al's listening, and Al, I hope that really impresses upon you? Because I was definitely transformed by your call today, Jim.
God and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim, for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. Our number, 1-800-585-9396. Have you managed to take what was just really a dreadful situation and turn it around? Or maybe you really are right now, maybe you're in the middle of the fire right now, just feeling like, God, why? What's this all about? I've been in situations in my life where people said, well, God won't give you any more than you can handle. And I thought, oh, yeah? It seems like he is right now. So these are the things we're talking about today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie at 800-585-9396.
Jerry, I wanted to just bring up going back to when I was going through my divorce, I remember a dear friend calling me up right when I was in the middle of feeling the lowest I could possibly feel. And he called me up and he said, Hey kid, how you doing? And I'm thinking, really? You want to know how I'm doing? And so I started to tell him, and he said to me, you need to get out there and serve. And I said, what? And he says, you need to get out there and serve. And I said, why would I want to go serve? I need to be served. I'm the one who's feeling the lowest I've ever felt. And he says, get out there and start serving others. And soon you will start feeling like you can get through this. You start to have a purpose. You start to have a feeling of your own self-worth. And that's exactly what I did. I went back and started serving again in the church. And at the first time I did it, I had to force myself. I had to drive in the car and I was just saying, what am I doing? I want to just curl up in bed. But when I started serving, I started to see God. And I really hope that helps someone else listening today. Okay, I know we're going to move right along to Kelly in Texas. And Kelly's been waiting super patiently as well. Hi, Kelly. Welcome to Take Two. You're listening on iHeartRadio app. Thank you so much. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. How y'all doing today?
Well, thank you.
Well, I was listening to Al, and boy, could I ever relate to him. I'm 54, but 24 years ago, I was injured and had a spinal cord injury, so I'd been in a wheelchair for 24 years. And then last year, blood clot, whatnot, I lost a leg. Okay, I was wondering in the last year, thought, God, how could you give me any more? But during those 24 years, prior to this last year, I built a business, had another child. I have 3 grown children, and they're gone. So I'm an empty nester now, and dealing with a lot of time alone. And it's just letting Jesus wrap his arms around you when you're in the lows. And if you can drive at all, I drive. It's hard. I have hand controls, but I heard him say he had a hard time driving, which makes me think he can. It's putting one so-called foot in front of the other and just getting yourself out there. It's just once you push, say, go see the priest, go knock on his door. He's waiting. Or if one isn't comfortable, find another one. It's just meant so much to me to be able to look outward, because when I start looking inward, that's when I get depressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kelly, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I was saying before you came on the air. And by the way, I just want to say you're like my hero today, because you've accomplished so much, and I think that is wonderful. And I just honor you for that. I think that is really a great thing. When you said turning inward, that's exactly right. When you turn inward, all the problems become magnified. When you turn outward, when you really look at the bigger picture of things and the eternal picture of things, it becomes what's going on in our life sometimes even becomes trivial, because you're looking at the bigger picture. And so to focus on eternity, not to wish eternity was, tomorrow because you want to get out of the pain, but to focus on eternity and to plan for that in a prayerful way, to use prayer, to give prayer, to be prayer. Everything is prayer. Everything is conversation with God. The blessings will flow, just like what Jim said as well. So you're all kind of saying the same thing. I think we're all saying the same thing, only in different ways. But, it's very interesting how so many of us are trying to fix the current situation we're in and we miss the whole big picture around us. And I know I was guilty of that. So I'm speaking from experience. And Jerry, I know you wanted to jump in.
Well, I would just add that, it doesn't, and I know you're not implying this, none of our callers are, that we should not try to, get out of bad situations and so forth. But to the extent that we don't have control over it, and obviously, Kelly, you didn't, with your becoming a paraplegic and then losing your leg, my goodness, I mean, sometimes you were probably thinking, okay, Lord, take another piece of me now, and, kind of feel like you're being torn limb from limb. But you have made such a beautiful, beautiful situation out of this, Kelly. So I don't know. Did you have any other comments you wanted to share?
Well, just if you're concerned about your children not being there, and if we're angry, they're not going to enjoy it. But if you're reaching out, praying for them, and sending notes of encouragement, it's amazing how their love comes back. And that would be something I would encourage also. If you have children, Al, to send sweet notes, not expecting anything in return, and lift those kids up in prayer, and hopefully you'll see that come back to you through God's grace. And I just ask you to pray for all of us, and that we'll certainly keep you in our prayers too.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, Kelly. You have a great spirit, Kelly, and you've accomplished so much. I mean, you really are my hero today, so thank you for calling in. That is, you have a great, great story, and you give us inspiration and hope.
Well, thank you for your show. God bless.
Thanks, you, Kelly, so much. And yeah, all those of you who are listening right now, if nothing else, I hope you come away, as I will today. I'm kind of giving away my takeaway, Debbie, already, but nothing in my life is going to hopefully, look as bad as it sometimes seems after just hearing the beautiful, beautiful spirits of many of our callers today. 1-800-585-9396. Before we get to our next call, and we got plenty of them, Debbie, I know we want to look ahead. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Bible contradictions, how we look in the Bible and this gospel account may have this event described this way, and another gospel has the same event, but there's different details. And so there are seeming contradictions really all through the Bible. How do we approach those? How do we make sense of those? And then on Thursday, couple days before Halloween, we're going to talk about how to approach Halloween. And Debbie, I know on Friday we've got a very special guest and a good friend of yours going to be on the show with us.
We do. I want you all to please post on your Facebooks, because this is going to be a great, great show. We've got Matt Maher, Dove Award winner. Matt Maher is coming on Friday, and we've got some special announcements and opportunities for everyone around the country. And so it's going to be really exciting Friday. And Matt's going to be able to join us for the first part of the show, so you don't want to be late for Take Two on Friday. Okay, we're going to Carol.
Don't be late. Yeah, let's go to Carol.
Don't be late. Carol in Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Carol. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Just fine.
Oh, good. I'm on speaker because I'm in Boston and they don't let you drive with your phone.
That's good. That's it.
So anyways, yeah, I've been widowed 9 years and living in this place that's really unacceptable for 4 years. It was just one of those quick fixes until I found something. And so, of course, God has provided. I'm grateful for everything. And my job here, basically bullied out of my job, which was, able to pay my bills. And I'm down to like $500 a week working 20-hour job. So needless to say, I need a place to live, a car pretty soon, and more work. And I keep asking God to trip me up, to make me fall on my face, to do whatever it needs to get my attention, that He's doing this for me. And, I'm doing everything. I'm serving the Lord. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I visit the homebound. I actually had some people that had nothing move into a building next to me, and I'm helping them. And it's like, okay, God, what do I do? I'm petrified of making a huge financial mistake. So I don't know where else I can go with this.
Well, Carol, do you have a community? I mean, do you have a church? You said you're Eucharistic minister. Right, you're an EM. Are you? Do you have? Is that community a strong community that you can lean on and ask for some assistance and help?
Well, I have, and basically they turned me over to a realtor, which I didn't want. I've even asked to live in. I have my youngest daughter paying off her college debt, and I've asked even if somebody had an in-law apartment, that we're upstanding, we pay our bills, we're not in debt, and they said no, we can't do that for you, and I was really disillusioned,
Right.
like hello. So,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, here's the first thing, because you said you're an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion. You want to continue to do your ministry work. That's vitally important. So you don't, even if the community is not like kind of supporting you in the right way, I always tell people, still continue to do your ministry work. That is you're doing that for God. You're not doing that, for any one person. You're doing that for God and his community as a whole. So I would continue. For me, that would be, I'm not trying to give you advice, but if it were me, I would continue with your ministry work. The only thing is that there must be someone around you that you can lean on or ask for support or help. There's so many resources out there right now online, and a lot of Catholic organizations have so many free resources. You just have to really persevere and really be determined to find those resources. And I know the people that have really done that work have found, great opportunities to be able to advance themselves out of the current situation they're in. So the only thing, I'm in Arizona, but you're in Boston. You just have to kind of go to your diocesan websites and try to look up different areas that you can tap into and ask for resources or ask for that lifeline. Because sometimes in our own parish community, we may not find the right answer. I will tell you this, when I was going through my divorce, my parish community was not supportive at all with me. I had to actually go to a parish community 2 towns over that really served my needs. So it doesn't always work so perfectly in the grand scheme of things. So you have to kind of look for it. But I know, Jerry, you wanted to jump in.
No, I think you put it very, very beautifully. And, the one thing I was going to ask, Debbie, was exactly where you went at the beginning of your comments there. And I was just simply going to ask if, Carol had, support community, family. Carol, do you have family that could help you out in these circumstances?
Well, I've tapped into several people, and the previous pastor was able to put a anonymous advertisement in the bulletin, but this new one doesn't want any part of it. So I guess I really have to just go sit at the library and really research this. I've tried the towns to talk to a local lawyer, for free advice, because my landlord pushed me over to his brother who doesn't speak English, and I have no support with where I live at all. And it just seems like every corner I go to, it's like, a detour, another detour. And of course I'm laughing, God, what's that all about in my life? So I'm trying. I just want to make sure I just don't make that horrific, go and buy something and then, really have it come back to bite me in the long run.
Sure. Well, you're approaching it right, Carol. Discernment, patience. Sometimes we see all through the Bible, God, it talks about waiting on the Lord, and, God is in every circumstance. Sometimes he's just testing us to see, are we going to trust in him? Are we going to wait for him to reveal himself? You talked about that earlier, where is God in all of this? So it sounds like you're doing a great job, Carol, and, we're going to have to try and get to one or two more callers here, but be assured of our prayers. Debbie, I know you would echo that, and we certainly ask Carol to keep us in our prayers as well. Carol, thank you so much for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Yes, thank you so much, Carol. And please, dear listeners, let's pray for Carol so that she has that opening, that window of opportunity where she can move forward and feel at peace with her situation. And pray for her, also her husband that passed away 5 years ago. So, Carol, you can rest assured on our prayers. Tiffany, we're going to move very quickly to Tiffany in Los Angeles, listening on iHeartRadio app. We wanted to get to you, Tiffany, and please, we want to apologize. We're running out of time, but we wanted to make sure we got your call. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi. Quickly, you just reminded me of something that I went through in college. I had to stop going to all my classes, and I moved back in with my mom. I had crippling anxiety, And every time I tried to do my work or anything, I just would have a panic attack. So my aunt, I was a Protestant at the time, and she was too. She came and she just hugged me and she said, you need to go out and do something for someone else. And I thought exactly what you did. Why would I do that? I don't even have the energy to walk down the stairs, and you want me to go do something for someone else. And the next day, one of my friends from high school called and said he was going to be giving his first sermon. He was in the seminary, and he wanted me to come see it. And that was actually, my mom took me. She was a lapsed Catholic, but she took me, and that was the first time I was ever in a Catholic church. So from there, obviously, God kept reaching for me, and I eventually converted and went to RCIA and did all of that. But I just wanted to say that point of helping others, it still helps me now, even when I'm laying in bed and I feel horrible, and I hear one of the kids sneezes and I have to get up and wipe their nose. It's like I was put here to do that, and I mean, it's easy to say, but you have to believe that there's a reason. You have to believe that God is seeing you. Like Jose Maria always said, God sees all of the little things you do. He's up on his perch way up. He sees everything, even if no one else sees your little efforts. He sees them, and they matter. So I just wanted to comment on that you
Tiffany, thank you so much. You are the perfect call to close this show because you just confirmed everything we were trying to communicate today. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to call in. And you are so right. Making that, I mean, that's what Jesus said. We didn't come here to be served, but to serve. When we reach towards any type of service, anytime, that's my takeaway, Jerry. Anytime we reach towards God in service, because we're doing it for God, God sees everything, He's going to reach back. He is going to reach back, and He's just going to overwhelm us with love because we're moving towards Him. That's my takeaway. I know that for me, if I get down, first thing I'm going to do is do something for somebody else. So maybe it might be for you, Jerry. You never know.
Well, actually, I owe you something because your birthday's coming up, right?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, speaking of that, we are going to do a show on milestones on Debbie's birthday. That's November 9th, so folks be listening for that. But again, still to come this week, Bible contradictions tomorrow, how to approach Halloween on Thursday, and Matt Maher with some very huge information that Debbie and I want to share with you on Friday about some events coming up that we are a part of. So yeah, my takeaway, Debbie, is I need to come out of myself some more. We can't eliminate the difficult things in our lives, but we can hopefully have a new perspective and allow God in and let Him transform them.
Right, absolutely. And Tiffany, thank you again from Los Angeles calling in. And Carolyn, we're so sorry we couldn't get to you, but please keep the conversation going on take2show.com or Facebook or Twitter. Until tomorrow, we want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day. See you tomorrow.